Hello everyone, I'm Profi1322 and welcome to another GTA discussion video where we're going to be answering the question, what is Gfred? Now those who watch my channel regularly probably already know what Gfred is, but there's a lot of people who don't, and it still is a question of, what the whole idea behind it is. So I figured I would make a video that explains everything about it. So Gfred is basically a race, but it's not quite your standard race where you get in a car, you start driving and then you go to the finish line. First of all, you have a bit of biking, then you have a bit of swimming, then a bit of running, then you have to actually steal a vehicle and then make it to various different checkpoints that are scattered across the map. So it's like a cannonball run from GTA 4, but on a larger scale and obviously using GTA 5. Now with that, there are some sort of gentleman's rules, I guess you could say, because under normal circumstances you have to do this in a GTA style race. Under normal circumstances you'd be able to use weapons and get various different things. There are various different rules that we follow when we're doing this, but it's become quite a staple of streams, and it's become the sort of thing that we do on special occasions as well, when we do a 24-hour live stream or the big milestones and things like that. Gfred is always the sort of thing that we go to because it seems to be something that people really enjoy watching, and people who participate enjoy participating in it as well, and that's not something that I ever expected. So the origins of Gfred, actually we don't have the footage of when Gfred was created, but it was basically just randomly assigned checkpoints around the map just for a bit of fun on one random stream a few years ago. The name means nothing. Some people often ask, what does the name mean, Gfred? It means nothing. It has no meaning whatsoever. I just typed random letters into the keyboard when I was creating the race. If you look at the placement of the G, F, R, E and D keys, you can see where that came from. The description used to just be a lot of random gibberish as well. Now it has been updated to include the rules that you have to follow. But yeah, it was just something that we created that we were doing a stream, and I went into the creator, put some random checkpoints around the place, and we did a race. And it turned out, it was fun, it was okay, but it never really became a thing even back then. Now the earliest recorded Gfred race, I think, on this channel is the one that I did with Tony in the snow. I think it was GTA Live episode 50 or something like that. I'll leave a link to it in the description and on the screen as well. But that's sort of the earliest one, and we've come a long way since doing that race, and we've got various different lines and ways that it's evolved, and it's quite interesting how that has gone. But ultimately it is still basically the exact same race that it was back then. You do a bit of biking, you do a bit of swimming, then you could do a bit of running, then you get to the freeway. You have to wait until you get to the freeway as well, that's one of the rules. You get to the freeway, steal a vehicle from the random traffic that's going on the freeway, and then you go to all these checkpoints that are randomly assigned across the map. The beauty of the race is that there's so many areas that can go wrong, and there's some difficult moments that if you get it slightly wrong, you will, your car can explode. You'll even see that in the footage that you're watching on the video now. There's a lot of different choke points, I guess you could say, and the beauty of that is that if you do make a mistake just as you're about to hit another checkpoint, you go all the way back to the previous checkpoint, which is miles and miles away. It takes maybe 5 minutes to get from one checkpoint to the next checkpoint, so if you make a mistake you're going all the way back, so putting yourself basically completely out of the race. And it's a lot more difficult than what it looks like. You can watch Gfreds and think this looks easy, but until you actually get in there and play it and realize, figuring out where the checkpoints are, remembering the quickest way to get from one checkpoint to another when it's across the map, not making mistakes in these areas that are quite difficult, and have these moments where you can definitely make mistakes quite easily. And when you're doing that with the pressure of 30 other players all doing it as well, and all the chaos that ensues with that, it is quite a difficult thing. Now the world record for Gfred is about 18 minutes, so if you think that it's easy, feel free to jump on. The links to the Gfred race are in the description. You're welcome to download it, give it a go, and try to get anywhere near that world record of 18 minutes. But under normal circumstances, that can only really be done in a hot lapping situation where you're on your own with people who, especially in a stream race with 30 people. When we do it, there's no way we're ever getting that kind of lap time, race time, I guess you could say. But yeah, it is quite a difficult thing to grasp initially, but then once you've got the idea of where the checkpoints are and the best way to get from one checkpoint to another, it does start to get quite interesting, because you have sort of races going on in between each checkpoint, where some people might be better going up a mountain and some people might be better doing a certain jump, and you make up time and lose time over a large scale, and it can get quite interesting and intense, especially toward the end, as we've seen from some of the Gfreds that I've participated in and have been featured on this channel. So I never initially expected it to be this sort of thing, and back when I first created it, I just created it for a random stream and that was it. And then I don't know what it was. It probably was that Tony Gfred that we did, and it was action packed and full of crazy moments, that people started to want to see it a little bit more. And so I played it a little bit more every now and then the demand got even higher, so I continued to play it. And it's kind of turned into a thing, which I didn't really expect, I didn't anticipate, and it's become something, a standard staple to the stream. Every single Sunday stream, at the very end of the stream, we always do a Gfred, because the beauty of it is that there's always something different that will happen. No two Gfreds are ever the same. You'll make a mistake in one place. I think it's quite interesting to watch as well. I often make mistakes as well, even in good situations, like you'll see again on this video. So it's quite an entertaining race to watch in that respect. So it's nice that it has become something, but if I knew that it was going to become something like this, I probably would have tried to name it something a bit better than Gfred, but maybe that's part of the charm of the race, that it was just created randomly on a stream. There has been now spin-offs of Gfred, and they're basically now called Fred races, so different Fred races where you've got sort of H-Fred, B-Fred, actual Fred, Bayman Fred, or Bay Fred, sorry, created by these people, and then they put their names in front of it. So that's the sort of thing where we have different checkpoints in different locations across the map, and it again, it's a brand new experience. And again, these Fred races have become a thing, which is not something that I ever thought would happen. So the good thing about Gfred is that it kind of has a little bit of everything in it. You've got the swimming, the running, the biking at the start. Then you most of it is driving, obviously, switching cars. You have to choose the best car that you can at the very start on the freeway, and then if you see a better car in a different location, you can either choose to stop and spend the time to switch cars, or continue on with the car that you have. So there's a bit of decision making there. There's, like I said, all these various choke moments and difficult parts, getting up Mount Chiliad and back down again and things like that. And then at the very, very end, you have, if you already have a parachute, you got a parachute jump as well. This was something that was discovered only recently. We never used to do a parachute jump at the end of Gfred, but it was only discovered recently that is actually the quickest way to make it to the very end, because obviously Gfred starts on one island on one side of the map. It goes all the way across Los Santos and things like that, and then it finishes on the other island, Bruffy Island, what we call. So what we used to do is just basically, once we'd hit the observatory checkpoint, which was the second last one, we'd just drive to the closest beach to the final island and then swim to the island, and that was pretty much it. And we had that for a long, long time, and then it was only recently discovered that it's actually quicker to take a different line, go up a mountain, launch yourself off the mountain, and then parachute jump to the island. That is much, much quicker than driving there and swimming. So and again, that adds something extra to the race. It adds a parachute jump, which is to have a race that contains running, swimming, biking, driving, and a parachute jump as well. It's pretty much covering all the bases at that point. And it also has this final sort of choke moment where if you don't have a parachute, or you get it wrong, slightly wrong the jump, or the exit from the car on the parachute jump, you will die and you end up way out of the race. So or you can take the normal route, which is slower but safer, and just swim there. So I thought that was a really, really lovely evolution of the end part of Gfred. The parachute jump that was found kind of rounded off the race beautifully and made it contain a little bit of everything, and added an extra bit of choke moment at the end as well. And it's really interesting how the race has evolved. If you go back and look at that first Gfred, or the first recorded Gfred at least, with me and Tony, we never used to have the rule where you could get a car you had to get a car at the freeway. You had to wait until the freeway. So it was sort of carnage at the start. It was just based on luck to who found the car first. So that's why we introduced that rule. Obviously the no killing and stuff like that has always been a rule as well. But the lines that we take and the way we get from one checkpoint to another checkpoint has been drastically improved over the years. And it's amazing to see how that's gone. And there's obviously people who do go for world records on Gfred and try to get the best times. It's kind of like, you could consider it to be sort of a speed run of a video game. It's the same sort of thing, because the race itself is so long, and there's so many issues, so many places where you could have issues, and places where you can make up time as well, that every single bit from checkpoint to checkpoint that you can improve upon will help you get that world record. And over the course of people doing that, we found so many different lines, so much variety, including obviously the parachute jump at the end that's very recent, but so many different ways to get from checkpoint to checkpoint that we've done throughout the years, thinking it was the quickest way, when really we find out that it isn't. And the parachute line at the end was just an amazing thing, to think that all this time, all these years we've been playing Gfred, we never realised that there was a quicker line, a quicker way to get to the end of the race, because we'd always just been doing it the same way every single time, and it involved a parachute. It was just it has become more than what I ever intended it to, and I do really it holds a special place in my heart, I think, because it just came out of nothing, but it's turned into something much more, and it now has an incredible overview of all aspects, or many aspects of GTA. It includes a little bit of everything, and it creates so much entertainment. No two Gfreds are the same. And if you ever want to watch some Gfred races from my perspective, we upload most of them on my second channel. I'll leave a link to the Gfred playlist. There is a specific Gfred playlist that contains, I think, almost 30 Gfreds now. They are in various different special one-off videos on this channel as well, interspersed, but in highlight videos and things like that. But full Gfred races are in that playlist if you want to even get an idea of what Gfred is like and how it's evolved, even just from me doing that, because the lines that we took at the very start of that playlist have changed even in 6 months or whatever, however long it's been. So it's just one of those races that has become more than what it was set out to be, and it's turned into something that's really entertaining, and something that is now a staple of my live streams. And I figured it was worth making a proper video to explain what it is and just get it out there for those who have never seen this before. Like I said, check the playlist link in the description, because there's a lot of Gfred races in there. And you can also, the Gfred race that went up today was the one that you're watching on the screen right now. In terms of highlights, you would be able to watch that in full with my reactions as things are happening during the race and things like that. So yeah, it's all in the playlist, and that's obviously the latest one at the very bottom of the playlist. But I just want to point out also that I've updated all the Gfreds, so if you had Gfred added to your game previously, there will be a new link, so you have to re-add it, and also it means that every single Gfred across all 3 platforms are exactly the same. The description's all the same, the checkpoints are all in exactly the same locations, the start and finish lines and things like that. So that was always an issue previously, that the PC version was a little bit different to the PS4 version in small differences, and that affected, you know, world record runs for people who wanted to do that sort of thing. Now all 3 platforms are exactly the same, so the links for Gfred are in the description. You can add it to your game and give it a go yourself, get it loaded up with a few friends, whatever you want to do. The links are there if you want to play it on Xbox One, PS4 or PC. But yeah, I just figured it was worth making a video to explain a little bit about it and showcase what it is. Most people probably already know what it is, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about it and you know, explain how what it means to me, and the way that it's evolved over the years has sort of turned it into something that I never really expected. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for all the support as always, and I'll see you next time.